Good Tuesday afternoon, everyone. Welcome back down to my library. And we're currently sitting on March 4th. So I'm behind on my February book wrap up. So that's what you guys are going to get today, once and for all. Try and make it short and sweet. I read 7 books in February, and a lot of them were actually very solid. I have 1 3-star, 3 4-stars, 3 5-stars. So overall, a very good month of reading. So let's kick this thing off with the first book that I completed in February. I completed The Accomplice by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, featuring Aaron Philip Clarke as the narrator. And this was basically a story about a Texas Ranger who is after this gang of bank robbers that ended up being on the wrong side of the law. And this story took a very weird turn that I did not expect. So it turns out the mother and daughter of the bank robber, they were actually criminals themselves. But there was kind of like a mob after this family, and it turns out that the family wasn't all that bad. But I mean, it's just a wrong side of the law type of thing. This one was okay, and I honestly wanted a little bit more out of the story. So I gave this one 3 stars. And that was my first Audible read. The next one I completed was definitely an accomplishment in itself. I completed Dark Tower 3, The Wastelands. And I made a whole review on this book. I'll go ahead and, link it in the description, I should say. But anyway, this book was a chunky dude. And it took me like a month and a half to get through. Overall, I gave it 4 stars. So essentially, this introduces Blaine the Mono, Gasher, and the TikTok Man. And I will say, for a 600-page novel, this is just my opinion, the 5th chapter is basically the entire story in a nutshell. But essentially, Blaine the Mono is a sentient train that likes riddles. I'm like thinking, what am I reading here? But if you want my full thoughts on that, on the Wastelands, I'll definitely put it down below somewhere. But I gave this one 4 stars. Next up is going to be Woe to Those Who Dwell on Earth. And this is a collection of short stories by John Lynch. I think there were 12 or 13 stories in this collection, and these stories focused on like creature features, sci-fi, and a little bit of psychological horror. My favorite story from this collection by far was Stasis, which is basically his take on sci fi. That was a very, very good one. The weirdest one I read was a cock meat sandwich. You probably know where that's going to go, and it went exactly how it went. But overall, this had some very, very good stories, and I definitely can't wait to find out what other collection he's going to write. This is his only collection that I know of so far, but I think he collaborated with a couple more authors, but this is just his work. Overall, pretty decent collection, 4 stars. And that was on my Kindle. Next is Breaking the Dark, and this is a Marvel crime novel featuring Jessica Jones. And this is by Lisa Jewell. Yes, I listened to a Lisa Jewell book. So, this is taking place in New York, and Jessica Jones is like a private investigator, but when a strange woman approaches her for like an assignment, she's sent off to London to take care of a twin boy and a twin girl. But they are held captive in this house of horrors that has cosmetic beauty supplies geared towards them to make them perfect. But when the serum goes haywire, everyone who is on that serum gets extremely deformed. This one was actually pretty entertaining, but I don't know if I would ever reread it again. So I gave it 4 stars. There were a couple name drops for certain Marvel characters. Luke Cage is in here. She mentioned Daredevil, Iron Fist. So basically, she worked a little bit with the Defenders. And this is just like her side story. But anyway, moving on from there, the next 3 are my 5-star picks. The next book I completed was The Skittering by David Haynes. And this is your typical creature feature that deals with mutated bugs. So, the small town is overrun by all sorts of arachnids and other horrific bugs. And this thing was gory, and it's just everything I want in a good creature feature. This was a very, very fun novel. Again, 5 stars. This was also on Audible. Moving on from there, I completed The Horror by David Sodergren. And I gotta say, this is probably my favorite book of the year so far. This is about an old woman by the name of Muriel Macaulay, who lives in a Scottish village called Witch Haven. And one day, property developers force her out of the town, but she won't leave. So the property developers keep harassing her, and she stops at nothing to get rid of them, even if it costs her her life. So one day, she goes on the beach and she finds this gelatinous creature that can manipulate the one person who loved her most, her husband, who has been dead for like 12 years. This is a story that centers on grief and supernatural horror. This was a very, very powerful novel, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. It takes a while to get going, but when it starts getting to like all the ooey gooey goodness, it's pretty brutal. The ending, though, is very abstract. But I highly recommend some David Sodergren. This is my introduction. I actually have another book that I want to get to this month that I wanted to get to last month, but I just didn't get time to. So I will definitely read some of David Sodergren. But that was my introduction, the horror. And last, but certainly not least, Am I Beautiful by John Athen. And holy crap. This was a twisted romance that featured the slit-mouthed woman as the main antagonist. So this is taken from Japanese folklore, and the slit-mouthed woman is a vengeful spirit who has basically like that. She wears like a surgical mask, and in this case, a trench coat, and she approaches people and she asks them, "Am I beautiful?" And if you say no, she will kill you. But if you say yes, she might or might not kill you. That is a very, very creepy premise. And this thing got dark in the end. So essentially, it was about like an American businessman who went to Tokyo for a work trip, and he approached this girl, but it turns out that the girl was a stalker. And she wanted her revenge, and she stopped at nothing to get to him and his family. I never thought that the antagonist would actually win, but this is probably his bleakest novel thus far. And I really, really dug it. Very dark, very gory, and it's John Athen. 5 stars, and this was on my Kindle. So there you have it. Those are the 7 books that I completed in February. I originally had 9, but I did not get to my other 2 physical books. I think 7 out of 9 was a pretty good ratio. So, that's all I got for this video. I'm hoping tonight I will give you some reviews on a couple movies that I saw recently and my February movie wrap-up. But I'm back in the saddle. I'm hoping to get some videos out very soon. And I'm also working on a new release vlog that I'm hoping to have out to you guys by the middle of next week. So, lots of stuff coming. Just give me some time. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video. And if you like this sort of content, like, comment, and subscribe. Adios. Peace.